Good morning, everyone, or afternoon. It is Friday here at my house here in the South. It's a little rainy, so it's a great time for me to get up here into the studio. Not always the best light, so I'm hoping that you can really see what I have in front of you today. It's Monica with Presley Girl Creations, and I just want to thank everyone who has been visiting my videos and my channel, liking. It's just been wonderful. I've only been out here for about a month, but everyone has just been so sweet and supportive. I love this community. So thank you for coming out here and joining and checking out what I'm doing. So today I'm going to be playing a little bit with napkins and papers. I'm going to show you a couple of different ways that I've done this. But I got this idea from a YouTube channel called Leona's Designs, and I'm going to put her page in my description. I follow her, and she has just done some great videos on repurposing. And one of her videos was about utilizing her napkins and some papers that she had, as well as dried flowers and herbs, and I have both. I love those things, and I was so excited when I saw it. I could not wait to try it, so I got this idea from her. Now, Leona is actually in there talking about repurposing papers. Maybe there's a mistake you did when you printed it or an old flyer, and rather than throw the paper away, she is reusing it. So I'm going to show you a couple things that I just pulled out and have, and this is a book page. And I have already peeled the top layer of my napkin here. Now, if you've never decoupaged before, I'm going to tell you a couple of things you'll want to try to have. If you don't have napkins, I have not tried it, but I believe you could possibly use the tissue as well that we use in gift giving bags, at the holidays, so maybe you have some of that left over. I have played a little bit with decoupage in the past, and here's a couple of examples that I have done. I played around with it on some clothespins and just, put it on there. And I love the way they turned out. I put them in my journals or give them as gifts. So these are some examples of what I've tried to decoupage. This right here and this one, they're the same. But because this is blue, you can see the difference. Now, doing this on paper clips takes some patience and time. I find it very therapeutic to do some of those things. So if you don't have any patience to sit here and kind of play with it, you might get a little frustrated, but that's what I've done with decoupage using napkins there. Now, I've already peeled all of my napkins down to the final layer. Some napkins, are 2-ply and 3-ply. And I brought one on here. I'm not going to peel it, but I want to show you. And a lot of times people will, they're just able to pull it apart right here. I struggle. It's just like being in the produce department at the grocery store. I can't get those bags open. But see what I mean by 2-ply or 3-ply? You can see this thin layer if you've never done this before. And the technique that I found somewhere that I thought was really helpful was using a piece of tape. And I'll do it on this corner here. And I always go to the corner because I don't really want to pull too hard and put a hole in my napkin. And I just give it a firm little covering, and then I'll peel it a couple of times till I can see a hole. And then I'll work, well, what do you know? There we go, what I just said. There we go. See what I mean? Now this one is a 2-ply. I can tell by how thin this is. But sometimes there's another layer for some of the thicker napkins, and you would just sit there and do the same thing again. Put the tape on and peel it back, and then peel this whole piece off. I keep the white part. You can use it in several projects, so I do keep it. And you could even reuse it in this particular project that we're going to do today. So I would say get some pages you want to repurpose. Maybe there's a pattern on it you don't like, something that you printed, or just whatever you have if you want to try this. This napkin, I'm not sure where I got it. I've had several for a while, but obviously I have spring fever, so I thought this would be a good one. The next thing you'll need is some glue or Mod Podge. Now, I prefer Elmer's glue. A lot of people like to use that, and I like this method better. I prefer it, and it's just a consistency thing, and I know with the camera you might not can see how it's kind of coming off of the brush there, but I'm looking for it to be really more thin than thick. So it's kind of like 1 part glue, 2 parts water. I like it a little thinner. It makes it easier to spread onto the napkin. I think it dries a little quicker. It may take you a few tries to get this technique down, and mistakes are going to happen. So don't fret. This is one of the easiest ones I think you can correct. I also have a stick pin, because we will get air bubbles from time to time, and they can be difficult to smooth out, and so I will poke a little hole in there to try to work those bubbles out. So I've got this on wax paper, and we're going to go ahead and start with this little page right here. And what you want to do first, get my glue over here where you can see, is just get a nice coating. I kind of I wipe off the excess, and I just coat this page, because I'm going to put some dried flowers, herbs, whatever I want right here, and I want it to stick a little bit. So I always like to do this part first. I have been known to forget it, so hopefully during this recording I won't. Just a quick coat. And if you've watched my video on my YouTube channel of my craft room, you'll see my dried roses hanging up at the end, and that's where I got these. I have a garden, and I go out there and pull the petals up off the ground, and I use silicone gel for a lot of it. I have done the drying of the flowers and book pages, but it's just easier for me to throw it in the silicone gel that I have. You can order it online through Amazon, or you can save. Again, if you watched my video, you can save the little packets, even for small flower petals, and put it in there. So my dried flowers actually poke up a little bit just because they were in the silicone gel. So the flatter the better. You want to I'm just kind of pushing these down because I know they're going to sit up a little bit. They'll settle down when I put the napkin on it, but I want it to still be as flat as possible. I also have some herbs. I'm going to sprinkle a little bit of that. Well, let's do this. Anybody that has been watching, I love lavender, so this is from my lavender bush. These are the little bitty extras. And I'm going to put a little lavender in here because it smells good, and I'm squeezing it really good. And the reason is I cut my lavender before it blooms. That's where all the essential oils are. That's where it smells good, and I dry it out. It's just so relaxing. I love it. So these are going to make some great tags. I can chop these up later. I can put pockets. I can do corner tucks with some of this after it dries. And it's going to smell really good. And I know that I've got a little bit of my garden in there. I wish you guys could smell it. It smells good. Okay. So then I'm going to get my napkin. I'm going to lay it on top. I'm going to gently press down because I want that to stick to the glue. Just kind of holds it on there a little easier for me. Okay. Then I'm going to get my glue. And Leona says start from the middle and work your way out. That way you can work out as much of the air bubbles as you can. I will tell you that if you get your brush too wet with glue, it's going to really saturate that napkin and it can tear a lot easier. So you want to be a little gentle. If you get aggressive, you're going to tear it. But let me tell you, it is not the end of the world because we can take another piece of that napkin and just tear it and lay it right over the top of that. That's what I love about this, and you're not going to really know. So Leona used a variety of things. She used dried flowers. She used, I think, some coffee grounds. She used some tea to sprinkle on hers, which I thought that would smell really good too. She used tea bags. That was nice because if you have some writing or a mistake on paper and you don't want to see it and you're trying to cover up as much of it as possible, she used the tea bags. And it really turned out super cute. I love the idea. It was really a great way to repurpose and use what you have. And again, you can use Mod Podge for this. And you can thin out Mod Podge. I think I have before. Mod Podge to me has a strong chemical smell that I'm not super fond of. So if I'm going to use it, I prefer it to be outside or something because I don't care for the smell. And Elmer's glue is cheaper to me. And it goes a long way when you're thinning it out with water. All right, so I'm just wanting to make sure I'm getting to the very end here of my paper and working those bubbles out. You can kind of already see some of the flowers, but where it pokes up, I'm just slightly going over it to make sure there's something there, one of my dried herbs or flowers, and not an air pocket. And you'll know if it's an air pocket. You will know. It'll move a certain way. You'll see the air bubble. Now, it will crinkle. I like that. The napkin's going to crease and crinkle as you're doing it, but I think it gives it a nice vintage look. You know, I've never seen it smooth. When it dries, it's a really nice texture. I'm just making sure I have all of this. So it may take you a couple of tries, you know, to get used to how firm you want to be with your brush, how thin you want your glue to be. So don't get frustrated if you start out and it takes a couple of tries. And I'm going to show you some I created that I played around with different napkins and things. Some things I liked, some things I didn't like. And I think that's just part of what we're doing. We're being creative and trying to show different things. All right. I think that's good. So when that dries, you're going to be able to see my flowers mixed in with that pattern. And I'm going to cut these after they dry. I may back it with some tea-dyed paper. So I like writing space. If I'm going to make tags, I'm going to make sure the other side's going to have something where someone can write. I can decorate it a little more if I want to, or leave it just like this. And I do plan on doing a garden journal this summer, so this may fit right into that. Okay, so this is with a book page. Let me take this and lay it down. Now my next one is a piece of paper that in the beginning I didn't know what a digital was. I just didn't know. You know, junk journaling was new to me, and I'm learning something new all the time. So when I started printing, this was a freebie I had been given something. I can't remember, but you can tell what happened is I ran out of ink. I'm not going to throw that paper away. So for a lot of my mistakes or things that came out this way that I don't particularly want to utilize like this in my journal, I copy dyed and tea dyed. So I played around with that because I had never done that before either until I started journaling. And I kept these pages because I thought, well, you know, I can use the back of this on a tag. I can cover it, repurpose it. So this is one that I copy dyed just because my printer ran out of ink. So I thought I would use this one. And again, let's go ahead and coat it. I'm going to use a different napkin on this one. And know that because we are using glue with water on paper, when they dry, they're going to curl up a little bit. Now, it's a cloudy day here. I can't set these out in the sun like I would like, but they do dry faster in the sun, a lot faster. Or for these, I'll just leave them, you know, on the wax paper and let them air dry in my craft room overnight. But definitely use the sun and know that they will curl up. I mean, it's water on paper a little bit with glue, so I put some under some heavy books, you know. You can just weigh it down with something that you have, and it'll flatten out. You could even probably get a cool iron if you wanted to iron the back of them after they've dried. Maybe put a cloth between the iron and the paper. So I'm putting some leaves out here from my rose bushes. We're going to get a cold snap here in the south. My rose bushes have already started getting their leaves. They're not budding, but they're getting their leaves. They're getting excited because it's been so unseasonably warm here. And we're going to get a possible frost coming our way, which I'm going to be honest, I'm okay with. I haven't started anything for my garden. I hate to see the Bradford pears and the cherry trees turn brown, but there's just too many bugs going on right now, and I'm okay with getting rid of them. So next, I'm going to put some of my herbs. This is called lemon thyme. I grow it in my garden, and I dry it, and it smells good too. It smells good. Get all that yummy smell in there. It's an easy herb to grow, and when I'm doing lemon chicken, I'll put some of this, and my boys eat it up. I'll sprinkle it on the top, and I'll put some rosemary and some lemon slices. It is good. I wouldn't say it's low fat because the way I make it, I do butter. But it smells good. Okay? I think I've got enough on there. You know what? I've also got, I've got this purple basil. Let me put that in there because I want to see some of that. We've got a pattern on our napkin, and I'm not sure how well the flowers will show through with that pattern. So I'm thinking if I put a little bit more dark on here with my basil, it will it'll show through a little better. Okay, we're going to go with that. Now the napkin I have is not big enough for this whole paper, so I fixed 2 of them where I peeled off the layers. Here's my other one so that I could just tear a piece here. And I'm going to save, you know, this part that I tear. Now after it dries, you know, I'll cut the edges off. But I'm going to put this right here. Cover that. You see I didn't tear enough. I don't know if you can see that. So I'm going to tear another piece. And this is great for you to see, especially if you make a mistake and you think, oh no, I tore my napkin on my decoupage. You just tear off another piece, and there you go. All right, so let's get to gluing. Kind of sweeping that part because that's my extra piece and I didn't want to pull it back. And it's really neat after these dry to see, you know, they lighten up a little bit and to see how it looks with the paper coming through. So I wanted to show you one that has a pattern on the paper besides book page. And let's see, and then I have a couple little things I wanted to show you where I was getting a little creative with my decoupage. I need to slow down. I don't want this to be a super long video. And I look like I might get too wild with this and it's going to start tearing if I'm not careful. I think Junk Journal and Jen sent me this video, and that's how I found Leona. She knew when she saw what she was doing that it would be something I would like. She knows me so well. I'm also going to put in my description some of my other people that I follow that I think would be great for you to check out their pages. We've got so much talent out there, and I know there's a ton I don't know and haven't seen, and they just have some great ideas. You know, at the end of the day, we're all kind of doing the same thing. We're just looking for things we haven't tried or new ways of doing things, putting our own design and spin on it, because that's really how you get creative. You're just taking an idea and playing with it. Everybody who does journaling makes tags and pockets and envelopes and stamping. You know, we're just all out here learning from each other. So I'm hoping that through my channel you guys will be able to see how I look at things, what I like to do, what works for me, and it's probably going to be some of what other people are doing. But that's how you practice and you get your own way of doing things. That's how you learn what you like, what you don't like, what your style is. I lean more towards Victorian, shabby chic, pink, but I also love the Amity Bloom look. If you haven't seen her channel, she's got some really beautiful bold colors, and I love her style too. I'm not so much into the grunge. That's not to say I would never try it. It's just not my style. But that, again, that's great. Everybody has their own style. And that's how you learn. We just get ideas from each other. I feel like I have several air bubbles in here. This one's, I probably didn't push my little flowers. Now I'm holding my pen straight up and down, because if you do it to the side or as these papers start to dry, your pen, if you're not careful, can stick to the glue and you can tear your napkin. And you really want to try to get the air bubbles out, because that piece of paper right there and napkin's going to be apart from each other. If it dries, it's not going to be stuck to the paper. So that's why you're trying to get the bubbles out. The creases are not a problem. I don't want that pulling away. And sometimes you can saturate where a little air bubble is and create a crease. So if it's not going to go away by pulling it to the side, you have to be careful and know that the more you wet it or pull on it, the more likely it can tear. And I do want to seal up these edges really good. Sometimes we get putting the glue on and we're not going all the way to the side because we're just playing around in the middle, and you want to make sure you get your edges sealed off. I think that one's about done though. Most of those poke up places are my flowers. Now this, you see that? See how I pulled that piece right here off? I'm going to flip it back over there. But I think I'm going to feel better if I put another little piece of napkin over it to reinforce where I just pulled it apart. So I'm just tearing off a little piece, what I think is about the size. I'm just going to lay it on top of it. I don't want to make it too wet, so I'm wiping my brush a little bit. I'm just going to kind of lightly pull right there. Might have made it too wet. That'll dry. And you won't even really know, so I like that. Okay. So I can see some of my flowers through here, so I'll be interested to see how that's going to turn out when it dries. Okay, I don't think I can peel this piece off, so I'm going to move it in here just so you can see a little bit more up close how it looks. And then I have this one. Now, I think I got these napkins at the Dollar Tree. But this is just white paper. I have a slight coffee stain, so this may be all that you have. And maybe you don't want to put flowers underneath. So I'm going to do this one a little different, I think. I'm going to put a little different take on it. But I still want to wet my paper here. So I'm not going to put anything underneath it. I don't want any herbs or anything under this one. I'm going to try something different. And it doesn't have to be super wet. I just want to make sure I'm covering it as much as I can. All the way to the edge. Again, this napkin's a smaller napkin. So I'm probably going to need 2 of them. I've not used this napkin, but I think it's pretty. It would be pretty on a book page. It would be a good one to cover up any mistakes from the printer because of the pattern. And I'm going to do the same thing I did with that last one. Let's see if I can tear this one a little better though. And I like to tear it. Sometimes I forget, but it's better to tear it and have this uneven edge so you don't have a straight line that might be noticeable. And look, I did the same thing. I missed the spot. Oh well. You know what I'm going to do? We're going to jazz it up with another piece. There you go. Isn't that a pretty pattern? Alright, so now I'm going to glue it down. And you could do this. You could leave it that way. It will stiffen the paper, so it gives the paper a thickness if it's just a thin page or copy paper that you're using. You know, the glue and the water just kind of crinkles it and thickens it up, so it makes the paper a lot sturdier. Let's see, where's my top here? Make sure I'm getting to the top. And with nothing underneath it, you still can get air bubbles. They're going to get in there, but it's not as, you can tell I'm probably doing it a little quicker because it's not going to tear as much. Like I said, the dried herbs and things, the flatter the better. But I love the look of seeing underneath the napkin, the petals. But if they're poking up or there's a little something in there, you got to be a little bit more careful when you're putting it on the paper because it's just more prone to have a tear. So I don't have that underneath here, and that's why I'm pulling on it just a little bit quicker because I don't have to worry about it getting caught on a dried flower or anything. Okay. All right. Get to my edges. I like this napkin. I've not tried it. And I'm not kidding. I think I did get it at the Dollar Tree over in the party section. And I think at first it wasn't totally my style. I just saw flowers. And I thought, $1. But I think I'm loving it now. Hope I'm not shaking the camera. All right. Thank you, Leona, for this great idea. There's a crease right there, and I want to get it out. So with this one, I think I'm just going to leave it like this. I think I like this pattern on the back when I cut it. Plus, it's a white piece of paper, so on the back of it, and even with the last one that we did on the back, is tea-dyed, and the back of this one is just white paper. It's already got a writing space. So I think I just like this. I could add to it on the tag if I wanted to layer it with anything else, but I like this design just the way it is. And I'm going to leave it. And again, I'm going to show you some I've already done and dried and what worked, what didn't work. Okay. There. You see that one? Pretty pattern. Okay, now I'm going to show you something I was playing with. When you're doing a lot of these and they're finished drying, you have some leftover napkin on the side. You know, sometimes it's bigger, and I save those pieces. Or just like I'm tearing, you know, I'm tearing and I have these extra pieces. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take another book page. And I'm going to do something different. I'm still going to do this. I have a lot of book pages, you guys. This was a book I have been pulling apart for a while. So it's a nice sturdy book page from this old book. It's not super old, but it's a nice book. And what I thought I would do with this one is take the scrap pieces that I have, and I'm going to do like a collage of napkins. You know, I have a big dinner napkin like this. This was a Paris one. And I just thought, you know, we do collaging a lot with our scraps. Well, I have a lot of scrap napkin pieces now, so I'm going to use those and just kind of create my own page here. Let's see. I don't really want that poking up a whole lot, so I'm going to try to take the sharp edges off. But I have a lot of these scraps, and I have used these in the past and put them in my scrap pile, but I thought, why am I not using it this way to create a page, you know, a big tag. If you have a big journal, I don't know, I just thought it was just too pretty not to mix it up a little bit. I have so many pretty napkins. I used to get a lot of them at Tuesday Morning, and I don't know if that store was across the whole country or not, but they had a lot of pretty napkins. I think 2 of these came from there. I would always check their napkins out when I would go. They closed right before the holidays, so I missed that store. They were reasonably priced too, these napkins. This bottom napkin I have gotten at a store that we had called Christmas Tree Shop, I think. And a lot of people, you know, don't realize it's not just Christmas stuff. So they have holiday stuff, decor, reasonable prices. They have a lot of napkins. And you have to kind of dig a little bit sometimes to find some patterned napkins. I've been looking for this rose one. You know, you might recognize it. I've used it on this. Same pattern. And I love it. And I'm getting low on this little napkin here. I'm kind of being greedy with it. But I don't know. I think I could have gotten that for 99 cents. The smaller napkins, I think the dinner napkins around $1.99. I do think that store got purchased by someone else. It's still going to run the same, but they may have changed it to TCS, the initials, because I think they wanted to get the word Christmas out of it, just because they were afraid people would think that's all they have. And they're open all year round. They have all kinds of stuff. They have everything you can just about think of. Dishes, food. I go in there for the napkins, the holiday decor. Okay. So that's how I did that one. So I think that's going to be cute when it dries. So I just kind of layered that up. See how I did that? All right. Now I did try a couple other things right quick that I'm going to show. And I apologize for any noise. But I wanted to show you that I had, and I think I got this idea a while back from Ruby and Pearl, where she was trying to create some lacy tags. Hers looks way better, I promise you. This is what playing's about, and I had put it on this little cardstocky. You can see it's pulling apart right there. See what was underneath it? I covered up that paper. It was paper I didn't like so much. I love the glitter, but I didn't like the paper, so I backed it, and then I glued some laces, like a big 12 by 12 is what size it was, and then I just went down and hacked it, and I used some of my scrap laces. I did go down and sew through it because I know that she did. It looks like I must have had these for a while. It looks like I must have sewed through it before I backed it. Okay, I'm not happy with the way these turned out. I'm not going to not use them. They've been in my project box to try to figure out something else to do with them. But I got a wild brain idea, and I thought, how can I jazz these up? I'm still going to change my corners, but like, you know, maybe cut them at an angle. I don't really like the sharp edges of it, but I decided I was going to do something different. A napkin does not decoupage good on top of fabric, FYI. Tried it. Fail. Hey. Trying to think outside the box, y'all, and figure it out. So I'm saturating it pretty good for a reason. Now this may be a fail too. I've already tried a small one I'm going to show you, but I didn't want to show you until I did this. But because it is fabric, you know, I don't want to really cover it up with paper. I just didn't know what to do with it, but I'm not going to get rid of it. So if you know me at all, or you've watched any of my videos, you will know I love what? Glitter. Oh, isn't that pretty? I got this glitter. It's called Pink Icing Party Blend from Hobby Lobby. Look at that. Ooh. So I'm going to sprinkle it. Hopefully I won't have a catastrophe of blobs. I'm trying to be very steady and not have it just dump on there. But if it dumps on there, hey, I don't care. I'm just covering it, giving it some bling. Now, I can put a hole in it and put an eyelet and a ribbon. You can still write on it. See? Now, I might tap it a little bit over to the side. Not all of it's going to stick. See? I'll cut these corners. I'll put an eyelet, maybe a pretty ribbon, maybe a dangle. But I'm not just going to leave it like that because you need to give it a coating of Mod Podge or what I'm doing, the glue. And I'm kind of saturating it because I have some grooves here. I'm being careful dipping it back in my glue. I don't want that glitter back in there. I do have a little thing of water. And this will dry clear, just like Mod Podge. Ooh, look at that. Ooh, ooh, ooh. I am a blinky girl. My daughter is not. She went to college and she got all, you know, I don't know. I sent her away to college in Florida. And she was a girly girl like me with the glitter and the pinky. But, you know, all her little friends were more what I call all natural and granola-y, and now she's married and she's still like that. That's her style, boho. So I don't buy her clothes anymore. I'll take her shopping, but she has to pick them out because I never pick out the right thing. Okay. So there we go. It's covered. Isn't that pretty? I like it. I'm just trying to repurpose and glitz it up. And here's one I did earlier that's smaller. It was a skinnier. It's just the way I chopped it up. I don't want to go out of focus. But you know I like it. So yeah, I think I'll do it up here. I'll put a little hole right there and have a ribbon. So I just tried to repurpose, and I couldn't put anything else. So of course I thought of glitter. Now, here's one I was playing with as well, where I just did little tears of the napkin. It's not completely dry. And I blinged it up a little bit. I don't know what I like about it. I kind of like it, but I'm not sure how I'm going to utilize it. I could, you know, cut it in pieces. I could probably fold it. I don't know. I was just practicing. You may have some ideas for me there. Also, I had done another layered one before, and I just lit up the Eiffel Tower with the glitter. and then I sprinkled it on while it was still wet, and then I just covered the Eiffel Tower so that when it dries, that glitter will stay in there. And I really like that one. Isn't that pretty? I used a different extra piece that I had down there. So I really like that. And also, I did the same thing with a book page where I put the flowers in under a pink napkin, covered it, and then put a little bit of glitz. You can see I got a little wild with it right there. And covered it again with the glue mixture. So I'll be excited to see how that one turns out. So the ones that I'm finished with, let me move this out of the way and move this little bit of glitter right here. These are the ones that I've done, that have dried. None of these have the glitter with them. I could go back and probably do that, but I'm not, because I like them the way that they are. This has a little sparkle because I just got some of my glitter on it moving around. So this is a book page I did with a pattern, the blue pattern. I'll cover the back and put either tea dyed or coffee dyed paper and create a tag. I could even possibly do like a little mini journal. I think it's cute. Here's one I did also with some of my lavender and roses, and it's just the pink. But when it dries, you can see it lightens it up. I really like this one. It was just where I ran out of some ink again. It was a light green cover, and I had coffee dyed it, tea dyed it, and there's the flowers and the herbs. You can hear the crinkleness. I did one with this napkin. You can see my red roses more than my white ones, but I still like it. So it was just me playing. Now this one, this was a bigger piece. It was a placemat, a paper placemat. You can see it's pretty big, so there was more to it. I had coffee dyed it and had it for scraps. You can almost still see the little fork in it right here. You might not have noticed that if I hadn't pointed it out. This is the plate. But I picked out a napkin that just had a lot of flowers, and I layered the flowers a little bit because I was trying to cover the background. Now, like in Leona's, she would have probably put like a tea bag over that and then the napkin, and that would have helped cover it. But, I mean, I will use this. It looks more fall to me, so these may make some great fall tags or pockets. It's not super stiff because of the material, so yeah. This one looks a little wild. Now, the paper on it is a lot stiffer, and that's because this was a thicker piece of cardstock. It was a, I want to say it was on a box, but it had some wording here. Again, my way to fix something that I didn't want to throw away was to practice my coffee and tea dyeing on it. And so again, I picked a pattern and put it on here and layered it up. Now it looks like a hot mess right now just because of the way it's all one piece. It's an awkward piece, but you know, I'm going to be cutting this up. You're not going to know how it is, but I covered up pretty good the wording. And even though these aren't shabby chic colors, it makes me think of Amity Bloom a little bit, the boldness. And I do have some flowers in here that you can kind of see peeking through. So you can see I haven't trimmed the edge. I still have to do some trimming here. So I just peeled those off, and I've got to go in and clean that up. But I wanted you to see how I did that one. I'm not a fan of this one. I won't get rid of this one. This is that same napkin we did earlier, the spring napkin on the book page. But what I wanted to show you, again, it's a piece that came from a pack of paper that I'm not super jazzed about, that I had coffee dyed, and it had this Christmassy blend, plaid blend right here, I'm not into that. But I wanted to show you what the pattern looked like, and then I played around with it with flowers underneath, and what would it look like without. So I will still use this because I like the garden print on it. I probably prefer it right here better, but I will be doing some more decorating, but I will use it. You can see I've got my extra piece to cut off there, but I will use the parts that are covered up. But it wasn't my favorite. But that's why I say you got to try, you got to practice. This one, I love the napkin. It's got a French vibe. I did it on white paper. I do not like the underneath. Number one, you can't see it really good, even though I did it on white paper, so I wanted to show you. And I put some dried flowers that I had, a dried piece of fern. Oops, get off me, flower. And even on white paper, this napkin color is super dark. I think for this one, I love the napkin. What's going on with this little piece of flower here? It just wants to hang on, right? I love the napkin. It's got a French aesthetic to it that I love. But I think if I use it again, it's just going to be on plain paper. I'm not going to put anything on the bottom or the top. And you can see this glitter's come off my hand. So I didn't add glitter to it. It's just from my playing. You know, glitter gets everywhere. So see? So yeah, I don't like this one. I don't know. I'll use maybe parts of it. I may cover it up. I don't know. I won't throw this away, but I'm not going to use it in this, the way it currently looks. I'll have to get creative. And this is where I used my Paris napkin that we saw previously. And I used it on a big 12 by 12 piece that had a dark color I didn't like. I wouldn't use it, but it's cardstocky. So I like that. And you can see I like Paris, French. My girlfriend's from Paris. I just love everything about it. Again, that glitter was not added to this one. But I just covered it. And I like it. I like the way these creases look, the way they dried. I did put these under a heavy stack of books to flatten out a little bit. They were a lot more crinkled. So yeah, I will cut these. These can make some nice big tags. I like these. And see right here, it didn't extend, but I still went all the way. I like the writing, the stamp. So that's how that turned out. So I hope you found it informative. I hope you will give it a try. And, you know, just create your own patterns and designs. Sometimes it's a fail. Sometimes it's not. I'm super excited, you know, about my glitter and creating these tags. I will tell you that I do plan next week putting another video up. If you watched my magazine video, I want to be able to show everybody what I did with the books that I was showing you in that video. So I want to show you some things I did after I cut those magazines up. So I'm going to try to do a short little update next week. So my goal is to be out here at least once a week. That's about how often I can squirrel away to get up in my craft room and play around. So I appreciate everyone's support. I hope you found this informative, that you'll give it a try, see what you have. And I'm going to put some folks that I follow down in the description that I hope you'll go out and check out their page and follow and like them. They have some great things to show and share. So everyone have a great weekend. Or just a great day, no matter what day it is that you're watching this. And thank you again for joining me on my channel. Like and subscribe if you're interested. Ask me questions. I'm here. Thank you so much. Goodbye.